Hi, I'm Ethan Meredith, and today I will discuss the Association of People Employment First, which is commonly known as the APSE. I'll explain the organization's purposes, the services, eligibility, geographical reach, and how schools can use APSE's resources to improve transition outcomes for students with disabilities. A little bit about the agency overview. The APSE, it stands for the Associations of People Supporting Employment First. It's a national nonprofit membership organization. It was first established in 1988, but Kentucky's first chapter was established in 1991. It includes people with disabilities, families, professionals, businesses, business owners, all that type of stuff, and et cetera, to go along with that. And it focuses on, inclusive employment for people with disabilities and trying to get them their helps for the transition needs they may need um, once they get out of school. APSE reports having more than 2,000 members, chapters in 38 states, and members throughout all 50 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and several other countries. Talk about the purpose of employment. APSC's primary goal is to expand meaningful employment opportunities. They want to promote, fair wages for the people that they're trying to, help. Encourage career advancement. They want to increase workplace inclusion. That's a big key point. And making employment the first and preferred outcome. Employment first means, that employment in the general workforce should be the first and preferred option for people with disabilities receiving, publicly funded services. So it's a great way for these people to, get the help that they need, especially in the workforce, trying to find a job and get the training for that type of job, um, and so on. Some of the services. APSE provides a lot of services, employment first advocacy, disability employment resources, webinars and professional trainings, conference and networking, policy and legislative information, resources for employment services providers, resources for the employers, professional standards and competencies, and tell other success stories and employment examples that these individuals can look at and strive for. So a lot of very good for services and resources that they provide. APSE also, the resources are organized for individuals with disabilities, students and the youth, businesses and families and employment services all together. And all these providers want to come together to try to make this happen. The transition aged youth, the resources for ages, 14 to 22, they provide, career exploitation, career and employment planning, workplace preparation, competitive integrative employment, school to work programs, which is awesome. Assisted technology information, self advocacy and informed decision making, and then connections to the employment resources. Some examples of this, project search, bridges to work, vocational rehabilitation, career one stop, and like Able National Resource Center. So, like for example, APSC's youth resources include information about colleges, careers, the assisted technology and programs that help students transition from high school, special education and deployment, because that's one of the big hurdles that it seems that some of these individuals, with that receive special education services in high school. Once they get out of high school, what are they going to do? And this is a great opportunity for them to get the help and the training that they need to transition out of high school into a workforce and to be able to be independent on their own. The geographical area served, national APSE, it serves, like I said, serves members across all the United States, chapters in 38, members in all 50 states. There's even some international members. As for Kentucky, we do have a statewide chapter. It was established in 1991. It supports integrated employment opportunities throughout Kentucky. No individual regional offices are listed. But Kentucky's APSE's goal is to improve and expand integrated employment opportunities, services, and outcomes for Kentuckians with all disabilities. Eligibility and costs. So who can benefit? Individuals with disabilities are ones that can benefit. Transition age students, the parents and families, special educators, transition coordinators, vocational rehabilitation professionals, employment service providers, employers and businesses, disability advocates. All those are those who can benefit from this, and who's eligible. No specific disability category required for public resources. There's no minimum skill level that is needed. Many online resources are publicly available. There's memberships, conferences, and specialized training. They may require some fees, but not all do. And APSE is generally provides resources and professional support, and then rather than direct individualized job placement services. So how do students and families access APSE? The steps for accessing these resources: first, you need to visit the apse.org website. You can select resources for students and youth. Then you can review the employment and transition information. You can contact Kentucky APSE with questions, speak with the student special educator or transition coordinator, and then request connections to local employment agencies when needed. The contact information is there, right there. APSE, the info at apses.org. Here's the Kentucky, KYAPSE at apse.org with their phone number and website included. Some questions that families maybe should ask. Here's some questions that families should be asking. In my opinion, so what resources are available for Kentucky students aged 14 to 22? Does APSE provide direct employment assistance or referrals to other agencies? Are any programs, trainings, or events free for students and families? Which employment services serve in our Kentucky area? And how can students school participate or collaborate? And then what steps should a student take before leaving high school? All of these are great questions that can be answered by somebody there at APSE that they would be glad to help. Collaboration with schools. Schools could collaborate with APSE, by using the APSE resources and transition lessons. Sharing the information during ARC meetings with the parents. Inviting, representatives, to transition fairs. Provide APSE training to special educators. Connecting students with employment professionals. Teaching competitive integrated employment, partnering with inclusive local employers with this, and then supporting families during agency referrals. And the role for me as a special educator is I should identify, students with these employment goals, teach job readiness and self-advocacy skills, which is big that we teach here at Grace County High School. Help families contact appropriate agencies and coordinate school and adult services, and then follow up and make a referral. And in conclusion, the big key takeaways, people with disabilities should have access to meaningful careers. And that doesn't mean that just once they get out of high school, that means that they shouldn't receive help. I think it's big that we try to help them with transition needs as big as possible, because it help them be independent, help them, because that's always a big thing. They just need help, and that's everybody. Everybody needs help. But the big thing is you just need to ask. And another thing is, I think these types of services are big to help with our community. It helps everybody. I think, and provides employment for these people, and also provides workers that are desperately needed in this type of economy. Employment should always be integrated and fairly compensated. That's big too. Transition preparation should begin before graduation, which is what we, Grace County High School, do. We're starting in middle school, helping these kids, trying to prepare for life after graduation, which comes quicker than they realize. Families, schools, and employers and agencies, must collaborate together, because if they don't, it's hard to, build a plan, without collaborating together and having everybody on the same plan. And then APSE, provides advocacy, training and resources, that support employment first, which is awesome and a big supportive thing for these students that are transitioning out of high school that are needing this type of help. Here are my references, and thank you. This concludes my presentation. Thanks.